The previous example was quite extreme, but it had one feature that made it relatively simple. I am referring to the fact that the blue we worked on was radically different from all the other colors. In this example, I would like to show what happens when we are dealing with colors that are similar to each other. For greater clarity, I have created a document in which there are 3 squares filled with different shades of green. In addition, there are 2 circles whose colors I would describe as purple and cyan respectively. If we wanted to change the central green, we would simply select one of the points on the color wheel and define the new input color by clicking on the area of interest. As expected, the point moves and the sample is redefined. If we now drag this point, we notice that the 2 adjacent squares change color, but the circles do not. The reason is that the fill color of the 2 outer squares is quite similar to the one we are working on, while the circles fall into color areas that are quite distant from it. To understand how MTC ChromaWarp works, think of a thin metal surface that crosses certain points in the color space. When we move one of these points, the sheet deforms accordingly, and deforms more near the point we move, much less or not at all if we are further away. For this reason, colors similar to the one we are working on undergo a shift themselves, while different colors remain essentially unchanged. Can we avoid this phenomenon? The answer is that we can set anchor points at the colors we want to keep unchanged. These anchor points act like drawing pins that prevent our ideal sheet from deforming. The only thing we need to be careful about is that this technique works if the colors we want to keep unchanged are sufficiently distinct from the color we are working on. Otherwise, it may be impossible to keep them fixed, or serious color distortion may occur. In other words, the impossible is possible, but miracles are not. If the colors are so similar that they appear identical, it makes little sense to work on them separately. Let's see how we can set manual anchor points. Click on the eyedropper and use the color selector to fix the green of the upper square. Click OK, and note that this point has appeared in the color wheel. This is the first anchor. Repeat the operation with the green of the lower square, observe the new point, and now try to change the position of the ray representing the central green. Unlike before, the 2 adjacent colors remain unchanged, which means that it is possible to isolate them from the central green because they are far enough away from it to allow this. There are 3 important things to note about anchor points. The first is that the points are generated automatically when you change a color. For example, if we use the function that determines the prominent colors and then click on one of the points to change its position, the anchor points created by the plugin appear. The default value of points that are created in this case is 10, but it can be changed using the slider called ENG, the one at the bottom of the panel. The range goes from 0 to 50. Remember that points can be created manually or deleted by pressing the V key with the panel active, bringing up the icons for adding and removing them. In addition, up to 10 color samples defined by Photoshop samplers can be loaded as anchor points. In the case of this document, we have 2, which can be loaded by clicking on the viewfinder icon. In this case, the plugin asks us to confirm our intention and creates the requested anchor points. Finally, It is possible to control the smoothness of the transition using the parameter called regval. If we return to the model of the metal plate being deformed, this parameter defines how flexible or rigid it is. Its default value is 0.1, but we can set it between 0 and 999. A smaller value corresponds to greater rigidity and a more accurate change, while a larger value corresponds to greater flexibility but a less accurate change. This can be clearly seen in the case of this gradient. We have already sampled the two extreme colors and set the central color as an anchor point. If we move the extreme colors to create a very striking change, moving the regval slider, we notice that at low values, posterization or sharp transitions can be seen, while, as we increase the value, these become much softer, but the accuracy of the change suffers. In the next example, let's try applying anchor points to a real image.